Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump right now, where the polls stand, comparing that to Donald Trump and Joe Biden in 2020, and just kind of looking for potential similarities and differences of these two different races. Going to Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. So, Biden versus Trump. Biden starts off polling a few months before, but we're going to skip. We're going to go to the end of July in 2020. At this point, Biden was actually disapproved of here. Biden had about, let's see if I can get August 1st. All right. Biden had 44.8% approved to 47.4% disapproved. Not great. Negative 3 points approved about of Biden. So Biden was not doing too great at this time. The only difference is Trump was a lot more disapproved of here than Biden was. And let's just go to the election really quick. Let's see if I can get the precise date. If not, we'll go around November 2nd. That's fine. Biden here, his numbers started to go up. He was at 50% approved to 44% disapprove. So Biden's numbers started to go up here very well. And now let's just go to the polling for this race at this time. Let's go to July 31st, 2020. Let's see if I can find it. All right, we can get August 1st. Biden was up by 7.4% over Trump at this time. 7.4%, 49.4 to 42%. At this point, that 7-point lead looked like a blowout. To put it in context, Trump was beating Biden by about 4.5%, and that was enough for Biden to drop out of the presidential race because he thought he couldn't win. Biden was leading Trump here by 7 points. And going into the fall, going into Election Day, the numbers didn't get much better for Trump. It ended up being 6.9, 7.2. It didn't get much better for him. 7.2%. I believe that's even bigger, I believe, than what McCain and Obama was. Let me check this out to be sure. 7.2, yeah, 7.3 is what it ended up being. So it's only 0.1% off of what Obama versus McCain was. And again, if we look back at 2008 real quick, that was 365 to 173. So Biden, based on the polls, should have had a very 2008-like matchup against Trump. However, that didn't exactly happen. Biden still won 306 to 232. And it was kind of the exact same thing as 2016, where electorally it was not a super close election when you look at the electoral vote numbers of 306 to 232. But when you go state by state and look at the numbers themselves of the votes, it was a very close election. Georgia decided by 0.24% of the vote. Arizona by 0.31% of the vote. Wisconsin by 0.63% of the vote. Michigan 2.8% of the vote. Biden 1.2% of the vote. Nevada 2.4%. Very, very close margins in these states when Biden was polling ahead of Trump by 7 points in the polling averages. So I think when it comes down to is, especially in 2020's case, even though Biden was up by a lot, he didn't win necessarily by a lot. It was a very close election and a very winnable election, it seems, that the polling may not have estimated correctly. So what does this relate to 2024? So as I've been covering this race over the last few days and few weeks, I noted that back on July 23rd, Donald Trump led over Kamala Harris 47.5 to 45.9, 1.6% lead for Trump over Harris. Today, fast forward to August 12th, 2024, and Kamala Harris now has a 0.5% lead over Trump, 47.6 to 47.1. And my goal for this video, what I'm trying to convey here is just how close this election really is. I think right now, to say for sure Harris or Trump is going to win is a little bit premature. I think what we know right now is Trump had the lead, and he had a bigger lead over Biden. He had a smaller lead, but a lead over Harris. That lead is evaporated. Harris is now taking the lead in the polling average, and now it's a less than a 1% race in the RCP polling average. And to me, that says that this race is incredibly, incredibly close. And I think it's more likely than not to remain this way. But I just real quickly want to look at 2020 on August 12th and see what the race looked like in 2020. Biden led at this point by 7.5% over Trump, 49.3 to 41.8. Biden had a higher percentage of the vote at 49.3. Harris and Trump are both around 47 or so percent. The highest Trump got in this election, I think, is about 45.5. So Trump support has never reached as high as it is now in 2024. So the 2020 election, I really don't know if it gives much comparables to 2024, but it's worth noting because, Biden had a 7-point lead in the RCP average. He ended up winning, according to this popular vote, by 4.5 points over Trump. And now we're trying to use some of these things when we look at some top battleground states, because this is what will decide the election. And right now, Trump leads on average 47.7 to 46.8 over Harris in the battlegrounds. But as you can see, is what I showed you when you go back to the national polls. All over the place. Now, I want to show you when it comes back to the national polls that things are super close, only a 0.5% lead for Harris. Look at some of these close races right now, the toss-up races. Trump is up 1.5 in Arizona, 3.7 in Nevada. Harris is up 0.8 in Wisconsin, 2.4 in Michigan, 0.8 in Pennsylvania, 3.2 in North Carolina, 0.6 in Georgia. I don't know how much clearer I need to be, other than this election and the toss-up states in this election are incredibly, incredibly, incredibly close. It's an election that, until something significant breaks, is going to be a 50-50 election that we won't know how it will actually go until Election Day. Because, look, being completely honest with you, none of these states are insurmountable leads for Trump where Harris can't win them all. Coincidentally, none of the Harris leads in Michigan or Wisconsin are insurmountable where Trump can't win them all. We have a lot of time to go. We have until early November for the election. There's plenty of time for Trump and Harris to both improve their margins in the polls, but I think right now you have to be honest with the fact that this election is super tight and we don't know. There's not a clear winner at this time. All we know is this is incredibly close, and when you look at the polling numbers here, this is a point I've been hammering home in some of my past few videos, but don't just look at the lead. Yes, Trump is up by 1.5. Yes, Trump is at 3.7. But look at the numbers that they're up by. 48.3, 46.8. A lot of undecided vote there. That's not 50%. Nevada, 47.7, 44. A lot of undecided vote. We know on Election Day, Harris will not get 44% in Nevada. We know that Trump will probably get somewhere around 48, 49% in Nevada. But Harris is not going to get 44. There's a lot of undecided vote there that Harris will get that could maybe boost her up in Nevada that we're not seeing in the polls yet. Arizona, same thing. Harris will get more than 46.8%. This isn't being pro-Kamala Harris. It's just being simply honest with the math. Harris is not going to get 46.8% in Arizona. If she does that, she's underperforming even Hillary Clinton in the state of Arizona. That's not something she's going to do. Donald Trump's getting 48.3, 47.7 in Arizona and Nevada, 48 in Wisconsin. These are all regularly realistic numbers for Trump to get. But there's enough numbers here where if this is where Trump comes on Election Day, I think he'll do better than 46.3 in Michigan, 47.8 in Pennsylvania. But if these numbers were to stay true for Trump, it's not enough for him to win. It's enough for him to lead in the polls right now. But there's enough undecided vote out there that for Trump and Harris to win, they have to get some of those undecided voters to win these states. And look, it's going to be very close, but there's really room for both candidates to win right now. This is not a slam dunk for either candidate. And a few weeks ago, it looked like Trump had a pretty good shot at winning because he had a pretty strong lead in a lot of these places. Even though, like I said, there was plenty of room for undecided votes to break for Harris or at the time for Biden, Trump still had, on average, a 3 or 4 point lead in pretty much every single one of these toss-up states. Now it's less than 1% in Pennsylvania, less than 1% in Georgia. Harris is up by less than 1% in Wisconsin, a little over 1% in Arizona. This race is so tight now that it really can't be said one candidate or the other has the advantage right now. It really is a pure toss-up right now. I still have Trump and Vance starting out with 219, Harris and Walz starting out with 226, And all those states I was just showing you, the biggest margin here is about a little over 3 percentage points. That can be made up relatively easily, especially with a strong voter turnout. So we're really just waiting to see more polls come out and how the election changes from now until November. But look, I've done a lot in the past few days. What are the two candidates' pathways to victory? And for Trump, it starts with North Carolina, then goes to Georgia. That gets him to 251. And if Trump could win the state of Pennsylvania, that gets him to 270 exactly. Trump would win. But, it's very close. Under 1% in Pennsylvania, lead for Trump. Under 1% in Georgia, lead for Trump. It's not going to be easy. It won't be. Especially now, according to the polling average, Michigan is now, Kamala Harris is leading there. Wisconsin, very narrowly, Kamala Harris is leading there. If I had to bet my money, I would say I'm more confident in Harris winning Michigan than winning Wisconsin. She could definitely win them both, but if I had to pick one that I'm more confident in, I would definitely say I'm more confident that Harris will win Michigan than Wisconsin. But either way, if she wins these two states, there's not much margin for error for Trump. He cannot afford to lose the state of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania and its 19 electoral votes would get Harris to 270, assuming Nebraska's 2nd District goes for her. If it does not, then it's a 269-269 tie, and we'll probably look at other swing states if Harris is to win this. But Trump cannot afford, the way the electoral map is, Trump cannot afford to lose all three of the Rust Belt states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And right now, the momentum certainly suggests that at very least, it's going in Harris's direction. She's taken the lead in Michigan. She's taken the lead very narrowly in Wisconsin. And she's coming very close to taking the lead in Pennsylvania. It's a state that is definitely, even though Trump's ahead, the momentum was on Harris's side. 47.8 to 47. Harris will get more than 47% of the vote on Election Day. Trump will probably get more than 47.8% as well, but how much and where is the vote coming from? These are the questions we have to start asking. So if Trump loses these three states, in my opinion, I think his chances of winning are pretty much done. If Trump can win one of these states, like Pennsylvania, ideally for Trump, the best one to win is Pennsylvania, then Trump's in play. Trump can still win. But the polls are getting very close in Georgia. Trump needs to win here. Biden won it in 2020, and Trump needs to win it to have a chance of winning. If Georgia goes to Harris, that gets Harris up to 267. Now, Trump has to win Arizona, a state he won in 2016 but lost in 2020, and win the state of Nevada, a state he did not win in 2020 or 2016, to get him to the White House. So, this race is very, very close, and there are a lot of plausible scenarios for both Trump and Harris to get to 270. But to understate or overstate a very obvious point at this point, this election is close. This is not like a 2008, at least right now, this is not an Obama versus McCain or like a H.W. Bush versus Michael Dukakis. This is like Al Gore versus George W. Bush type of election. This is one that is very close. I can't imagine it's going to be a blowout win for either candidate. This could be an election where 3 or 4 electoral votes make the difference between a winner and a loser. And it's something we're going to have to keep watching for going towards Election Day, just how close this is, and if there's any trends that suggest one candidate has the advantage of the other. Because right now, Trump had the lead. The momentum is certainly brought to Harris's way. Harris is now probably slightly favored, but this election is so close, it could really go for either candidate. And that in itself says that there's been a shift in the electorate so far. The fact that Harris is leading Trump in a few of the toss-up states and has very small numbers in Georgia and Pennsylvania says at very least she is close to being within striking distance to seriously leading over Trump. Not just being tied with Trump and having a very close electoral contest where, according to the RCP polling averages, Trump is still favored to win. The fact it's even getting really close should be a wake-up sign to the Trump campaign that Harris is definitely making a very good fight to win this election. And this is something we're going to have to monitor going forward. So that'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to give this video a like, click subscribe, so you get notified when I post future videos like this one leading up all the way through Election Day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in a future video.